Hey, and welcome to the PP. If you clicked on this video, you know it's obviously going to be about Tesla. And if you're watching the video right now, you can tell I'm driving. If you're listening, you can also probably hear it. The mic that I'm using to record right now essentially picks up everything. It's very, I mean, I use this for all kinds of stuff. And of course there was other ways to record this, but this was just the easiest. So right now hands on the wheel, currently driving, but just because this is a Tesla, we're going to go ahead and
bing bang
tell it to drive itself. That way it's just a little bit easier for me to be able to record this. I'm still paying attention to what I'm doing, but we're going to go ahead and talk about Tesla. Did not plan on ever making an episode. Did not buy this vehicle to make an episode. Bought this vehicle because it's a good vehicle. So with that being said, I would just like to be as open as I possibly can. I do not mind telling you how much I pay for it currently, how much I paid for it, the total value of the car, and everything else that I have since then discovered about it, and also my reasons for purchasing it. And I'll start with this. This is the best car that I've ever had in my entire life. I've owned it for maybe like a month or two now, but it's easy. Like, it's genuinely easy to say, and I'm very reserved with saying things like that because it's a very big, it's a bold statement, but it's genuinely the best way I could say it is this: I haven't been excited to drive since I first got my license, so that should say something. Everything about the car too, if you're interested in purchasing one, everything about the car is different than any vehicle you have ever driven before, from the way that it drives to the way that you actually get in to drive. Everything is completely different. And I'll start with this because I said, let's talk about money, right? How much it costs, because that's probably the first hurdle, like anybody. I mean, that was mine, is the cost of the vehicle. Currently, I pay about $560 a month for my Tesla Model 3 rear wheel drive. So I get more range at 100% battery. I get about 350 miles of range, which is plenty to get me where I need to go. But I pay about $560 a month. The total cost of the car ended up being about $50,000, $52,000, around there. And then I only had to finance $40,000. Out of that $40,000, that's $11,500. Sorry, it was $11,500. That was taken off the total cost, so it might have been like 52 or something like that. And the financing might be like 40,500. These are like rough numbers, okay? But like very, very close to where it was at. I'm not looking at it, so I can't give you 100%. But essentially, there is a $7,500 tax credit that goes on to whatever car you want, I believe. And on top of that, I put up $4,000 of my own money. Alongside that, if you know someone who owns a Tesla, they can give you $1,000 off. So I'll actually put my link in the description wherever you're watching this, and you can use my code and you get $1,000 off of whatever Tesla vehicle you would want, which, right out of the gate, you are $8,500 off of a vehicle. Okay.
nice.
I believe I can only get up to 10 of those. So either way, if you use mine, or if you know somebody who has let you test drive theirs, or if they talk to you about it, go use theirs. Help your buddy out. It's fine. There's going to be plenty of people who watch this video. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you taking the time to actually, listen. And yeah, if you do use it, thanks. It's awesome. But with that being said, I got $8,500 off, and then I put down $4,000. And Tesla runs deals all the time. So don't just go running to their website and trying to purchase a vehicle. I mean, do, but don't, because they put out deals all the time. They might do like 0% interest, but it won't be 72 months. It'll be, something less. It won't be 6 years. It might be like 4 years that you have to pay it within. But you have 0% interest. They've done all sorts of different deals. The deal I got on this car was 0% interest with adding on full self-driving. So the full self-driving was $8,000 extra. The interest rate would have been 5.29. So essentially, the difference over the 6 years that I have to finance this vehicle for was like $1,000 more over the course of those 6 years for this car to drive itself, to park itself. I mean, I was like, yeah, that's a great deal. Essentially, all I was paying for was the software, really, and it's $8,000. And is your boy ever gonna pay that after the fact? No, because you could actually go onto your car and you could hit upgrades, and then you could upgrade whatever Tesla you have to have self-driving. That is an option. But I went ahead and just bought it with the vehicle because, again, I'm like you. I'm not spending $8,000 after I have already purchased a vehicle. And yeah, I guess it could drive itself, but still, it's just not going to happen. So essentially, instead of paying interest to this company, I'm now paying for software. And over the course of the 6 years, like I said, only $1,000 extra. So it was a good deal for me. Again, total cost 52,000, finance about 40,000. And then I pay monthly about $560 a month. And like I said, this car is completely different than any other car you will have ever driven. So right now I'm actually lowering the speed to about, I'm not going to say what I'm going, but I am lowering the speed right now because it was going a little faster than I wanted it to. But this car, so different. So you won't even fully realize till you've driven it for a little bit and then you got into a regular car to drive again. So some of the differences is, so for instance, whenever I'm driving Telluride, a regular gas-powered car, I, park the car, I press a button, and still, this is a nice car. I stop the car, press a button to turn the car off, I get out the car, and then I have to press a button. With the Tesla, it has something called regenerative braking, where basically you only use the accelerator, right? Because it's not called the gas pedal now. There's no gas, so you accelerate. You only use the accelerator, and as you lower or lessen the amount of force you're putting on it, as you ease back, it starts slowing down and it starts auto braking, and that's also to save battery power. So really, you actually don't have to use the brake pedal. So let's say you're going to the store and you park the car. So with parking, let's say you literally drive up and you're just using the accelerator, you ease back on it, and the car literally stops itself. You can, touch the screen to stop the car and get out. But what I do that is so different, right? Like I said, everything is different about this car. Telluride, you stop, use the brake, push the button, get out, press the key. And it sounds so snobby, right? It sounds so snobby, but it's cool, right? The Tesla, I pull up, I don't even use the brake. I literally get out the car and I walk into the store. Reason being is because I have my seatbelt on. As soon as the car is stopped, I take the seatbelt off, it automatically parks it. I get out the car and walk away. It automatically locks it. It turns the side view mirrors in. And basically now if somebody were to even come behind me, it's got cameras. Like literally the Tesla, if I had to give it two things, it was that one, it is completely different than every other car, and it's really how most cars should be. And two, when it does something, it usually does something a little bit more than you're expecting. So for instance, just in the way that the cameras work. So they have this live sentry mode, right? It's like a dash cam, but it's also kind of like a ring camera for your car. Let's say you go park at work or park at the grocery store or a festival or wherever you have this car, a vacation, wherever it's at. It's always recording. If it notices something, it will start recording within basically that 10-minute time frame. If somebody came to key your car while you were using the bathroom or you were at work or something like that, you now have them on camera. If you're driving the car, kind of how I am right now, or really the car's driving itself, but if you're on the road and somebody hits you and they're trying to lie, well, wrong, you now have footage of them in the wrong because it's recording on all sides, front, back, corners, everything. On top of that, like I said, it does something just a little bit more. All that footage is saved onto a USB drive. Now you can upgrade it to like a solid state drive or whatever you want, because it's literally you're driving a computer. I want you to understand you're driving a computer. But yeah, mine saves it to a USB drive, which is located in the glove box. And the only way to access the glove box is on the touchscreen. And you can set up a keypad so that way no one can even get in the glove box unless they have the code to the glove box. So it basically works like a lockbox, essentially. And like I said, it just goes like one step further with everything that it does. Like the engineering on this is absolutely insane. Like they thought of so many just extra things, and they're able to come out with little bitty extra things that you would have never thought of, or you're like, oh, that's cool, I'm glad I have that now. So it's called Summons, actually Smart Summons. And just for those of you who aren't familiar with Tesla, I know a lot of you who are watching this video be like, oh, I know what he's talking about. But those of you who don't know, your car can come pick you up. If you're at the grocery store, if you're within, I think it's like 200 feet, but it shows you on the phone. It's all done within the app. If you're close enough, you can actually have your car, you hold it down, and your car will literally unpark itself and come pick you up to the destination you set or wherever you are currently located at. And it's awesome. Literally, it only goes 6 miles an hour. It turns the hazards on, and it is very aware of people. I've seen it go around people like a human driving the car would, just because there was nobody there and it knew that it could do it. I saw it wait for pedestrians to cross. A friend of mine, when we were testing it out, literally and stupidly kept running in front of the car just because he was like, Tesla, dude, stop it. Why are you? This is literally a moving vehicle. Stop. But it stopped every single time. It was flawless. And you can actually see the person on the screen too whenever you're driving, as well as other cars. So it picks up everything. It's very cool. But that's actually Smart Summons. And my point is that people who bought this car several years ago and didn't have that feature literally had an update, like you would update your phone or update a computer, to where their car now updated and they can have their car now come to you. Like, that's crazy. Imagine having an update on whatever car you're driving now to say, oh, come pick me up at the grocery store whenever I'm done shopping. Like, it is actually insane. And they're coming out with these updates all the time. And like I said, it always does something just a little bit more. Let's talk about even just the way that you can access the car. They have keys for the car, which are like these little, basically like credit cards. And you hold them up to the side of the card to be able to get in, and it works as a key. The way that I use it and the way that many people use it, and you could use, I mean, they have rings, they have watches, like the apps and all kinds of different ways to access your Tesla. But the way I use it is actually my cell phone. So your phone works as a key. And if you want to send somebody a key to your car, such as your spouse or a child or whoever it is, maybe not a child shouldn't be driving, but whoever you want to send this key to, you basically just go into the app and you make them a driver on the vehicle. Now, you're the owner, right? So you can always take them off whenever you want. But let's say a family member needed to borrow your car for the weekend. You send them access, you send them a key to your car, and now they literally can walk up to your car, unlock it, and drive. But let's say somebody steals that family member's phone, right? Now they have access to your car and you're not okay with that. You can actually set up a pin to drive, because that's a lot of people's questions is, what happens if somebody steals my car? Well, you can set up a pin to drive. So like literally before you even go, they have to be able to know your code to make the vehicle go. On top of that, every single time you enter that pin in, the screen moves the pin just a little bit. Like I said, it does something a little bit more. The screen moves it just a little bit so that way nobody can guess your fingerprints on the screen. And let's say somebody knew the code, they stole your phone, or they had a little key card, whatever it is, to get into the car. They also have key fobs you can purchase too. Like I said, there's always something more. If that happens, you pretty much always know the location of your car. You can also set it to valet mode, so like it's restricted access. You can control the AC. You could literally do so many things just for in the name of safety and protecting your vehicle. So with that being said, on top of that, like I said, it keeps going. It just does a little bit more for the driving profiles. in the car, and I'm sure you're aware, many cars now, you know, you get in and you set it to driver 1 or driver 2, and the seat changes and the steering wheel changes. For the Tesla, because it's on my phone, right? I get in, and when you open the driver's side door, it recognizes me. So it sets these LEDs up to red. I don't have them on now, but it'll set these LEDs up to the color that I chose. It'll change the steering wheel. It'll change the drive mode. It'll change the steering wheel weight. It'll change the side view mirrors. It'll change the seat. It'll change over my Spotify and everything else that I'm using. Whenever my wife drives, it recognizes her phone. So literally, I watch her get in the driver's side door, and you can see that she and like the steering wheel, the side view mirrors. It is the coolest thing ever. It changes how she likes to drive. So that in of itself is super cool, right? Like you don't have to like select driver 1, driver 2. It just recognizes the person or the key that's getting into the car. So as I said, it just always does something a little bit more. That is the best way that I could explain this vehicle. On top of that, let's go back again to purchasing of the vehicle, because I'm sure a lot of you are going to wonder about that. We talked about the price of the vehicle, how much I pay for it, so that way you can kind of understand, maybe you could start budgeting for it. And if I didn't add on the full self-driving for $8,000, yes, it would have lowered my note. I believe it would have been somewhere closer to like $500, somewhere around there. Because again, I'm adding on $8,000 to the total cost of the vehicle, which ended up being my federal tax credit, and also my $1,000 off that I got from a friend. But with that being said, the purchasing of this vehicle was also completely different than any other vehicle I've ever purchased before. Everything was done within the app. So essentially, you go online, you put your deposit down for the vehicle, which is like, you know, $250, $500. It's also when you order the type of charger you're going to use, which we'll get to that in a second too, because that's a big question a lot of people have, is the charging on the vehicle. How am I going to charge it? Is there enough superchargers? Do I charge it at home? Do I have to get an electrician out to the house to do that? And we'll answer that question. But for now, let's talk about purchasing the vehicle. You can either have it delivered to your house, which is an extra cost, I believe, or like me, you can go pick it up at one of their locations. I live in Louisiana, and the closest location to me was either in Tennessee or it was in Pensacola Beach. So I drove 2.5 hours to Pensacola, Florida, to go pick up my Tesla. So the way that it all worked was pretty crazy. You make your deposit online, you order your charger, like I said, and then, sorry, it's telling me to pay attention. The full self-driving is also very safe. We can talk about that too, but the full self-driving has been doing it the entire time. We got off the interstate, and we're now within the city, and it's got 2 red lights, and it's just been driving itself the entire time. It's very cool. The full self-driving, if you're watching, you've probably seen me kind of move the steering wheel a few times, and that was letting me know, like, hey, just making sure you're there and paying attention. Like right now, it's doing it as well. The full self-driving, super safe. We could talk about that in a bit. But in terms of picking up the vehicle, registration, insurance, the down payment, everything was done within the app. Scheduling the pickup of the vehicle, and then picking it up was crazy. So literally, we drive, me and my family, we drive 2.5 hours to go to Pensacola. As we get there, the app says find your vehicle, and you know it's in the front because I'm picking it up. You look at the VIN number on the windshield. I'm like, oh, that's my car. That's pretty cool. So you walk inside, and instead of spending hours there, lady basically handed me a thing to sign for my taxes. And then I sat there for about a minute, and then I walked up, handed her pen back, and I'm like, is that it? She's like, yeah, just refresh the app, follow the blue boxes. Like, okay. I walk out to my vehicle. My phone's now a key. I get in, and I can leave. That was it. No hassle, no haggle. Everything is done. Everything was already like pre-done from the website, all the deals and everything else. And I just drove home. And to give you for instance, like I said, I live about 2.5 hours away. And I stopped at the local supercharger by me just because I was So curious to how it works, and this will be a great segue to jump into charging. It was 2.5 hours. I was at 100% battery. I got down to 47% after the 2 hour and maybe like 15-minute drive. So to give you a perspective on like the distance, it could go a pretty far way. It's kind of like a regular car, whether you're like city or highway. I mean, you get more miles on the highway. Makes sense. So, and it's also, dependent upon how you drive too. So, in terms of charging now, let's jump into that one. Charging at the supercharger is pretty cool. So, as soon as you pull up to the supercharger, they have this rule where, and it's not really a rule, it's like an unspoken rule between like Tesla owners. If you see somebody charging at one of the bays, so like let's call it 4A, you don't go to 4B. You go to 3B or 3A, because both of the charging stations charge from that same power. So basically your charging is going to get cut in half and their charging is going to get cut in half, like the speed at which it charges. So you always, be courteous and go a station over. But with that being said, for the superchargers, you already have your card locked into your app for any of the charging stations or anything that you would want to purchase through there. So all you do is literally pull up to the charging station, you unhook it, you open your charging port, there's several ways to do it. You plug it in and then you get in the car. That is literally it. Whenever it's done charging, you get out, you press the button, you take it out, and then you put it back up. It is super fast, super simple. In terms of how long it takes to charge, the longest I've ever been has been 30 minutes, but it's always roughly like between 15 to 30 minutes, maybe even 10 minutes, depending on your battery percentage or how much you actually need, and the rate at which it charges. Getting used to the difference between miles per gallon and then also kilowatt hours, very weird. The best way that I could explain it and the best way you want to look at it is just don't worry about the kWh, the kilowatt hours. Worry about the kilowatts. That's going to tell you how fast it's actually charging at those chargers. Most other EVs I would never purchase because they were just a lot slower. Things might be changing now because of Tesla, but essentially you want that number to be at least over 100 kilowatts, and anything below that, it's going to be a lot longer to charge. So even if you're at a charging station and it's not charging as fast, you can literally just go over to the next one and charge. But yeah, I'm on a 2-hour trip right now, and that's why we're recording this. And I went to the charging station just to top it off. I think it was at like 70%, and I went to like 80%, so that was like 10%. And it cost me $3. So in terms of the cost to charge the vehicle to get these miles, it's pretty cheap. But now let's talk about charging at home, because that's where most of your charging is actually going to take place. I bought the mobile charger for a few different reasons. One, if you have a 50 amp plug, right, which I'm actually going to install soon, just because I have to do some other work on the house at the moment. But if you have a 50 amp plug, it can charge up to 30 miles per hour. I actually don't. I've literally been just using your regular wall outlet. That's it. And my car's parked outside. So like literally, I get home, park the car, I take the little mobile charger out, I plug it in, and I go plug it into a regular outlet in the wall. Now, I only get 3 miles an hour, but for my lifestyle, I mean, I don't need much more than that. I'm going to get home, I'm going to let it just charge from, I don't know, like 5 or 6 at night or 7. I've even started it at like 9 or 10. But by the next morning, I have enough miles to get wherever I need to go around town, get done whatever I need done. And if it's a long trip like this, I usually just go visit the supercharger. Does it cost a little bit more? Yes, than it does at home. But, I don't make these long trips that often. If you're making long trips, I would probably invest in, getting that 50 amp outlet or one of their other chargers for your house, and have an electrician do it just for safety. But yeah, in terms of charging, it's super simple. And the way that you change the charger from the regular outlet to the 50 amp, it's literally like plug and play. Like you literally pop it out and you put the other one in. It's the same charger. It's actually really simple. And I have really enjoyed it. So I literally get home and I plug the car in. I don't have to visit a gas station or anything like that almost ever. The few times I ever do visit a supercharger, I also don't mind because the car has games on it. Literally, it's an excuse for me to actually go play video games. There's ones where you can actually play with a controller. So yeah, if I have to go to a supercharger, I'm like, sweet, I'm just gonna go game for like 20 minutes. And I literally do not mind at all. With that being said, on the charging end, I think, like I said, there's always something a little bit more, and I may be missing something. If you guys have any questions to any of this, please put it down in the comments. I don't mind making another video if I got to, because I'm sure I'm leaving something out. I'm just spitballing right now. There is something within the app. It'll actually show you the percentage that you charge at home and the percentage that you charge at superchargers, and it'll read superchargers is red, home is blue, and it'll also give you an estimated cost on how much the electricity is costing you versus how much gas would have costed you, the gas equivalent, because that's like a huge portion of why some people get Teslas, is whether it's like global warming or the environment, all that jazz, but also saving on gas. Some people think Teslas are really expensive, but as we explained before, you can get a Tesla for the same price as a regular car, or I guess buying a brand new car, but this one literally does so much more. With that being said, maybe we'll jump over now into the full self-driving. Full self-driving is pretty cool. What a lot of people don't understand is that it is extremely safe. There is a lot of stuff to it that obviously, as you got to think of yourself as a huge corporation, a huge company, right? Now having to trust people, right? Trust anybody to let a car drive them, which is crazy. All right. Like the legal side and also the insurance side to being able to do it's wild. So they have to make it super safe, and they have to say things that it's full self-driving, in parentheses, supervised, because now that you're supervising it, all of that responsibility is now on you legally, right? So it was in beta for a long time. Full self-driving is now no longer in beta. It's no longer in testing because it's full self-driving supervised. And what that means is there's a little camera in here, right? And it's watching my eyes to make sure I'm looking forward. And that's why it hasn't pinged me that much, is because I've been pretty much looking at the camera or looking at the road just dead ahead. If I am looking at this screen for way too long, or if I try, it gets really mad if you ever even try your phone. I tested it out quite a lot. It does not like your phone by any means. If it even sees it, it will ping you. But essentially, if it doesn't think you're paying attention, if you're like falling asleep at the wheel or something like that, it will alert you. Move steering wheel slightly or pay attention. And even if you do this and you pay attention, it'll pick it up and it'll notice you're paying attention. If it doesn't, however, and if you ignore all of the warnings, it will give you a strike. And then basically you're full self-driving for the remainder of whatever trip you're on. So like the drive I'm on right now, I won't be able to use full self-driving. It'll switch back over into like, hey, beep, 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 beep. It'll flash red, and it's like, hey, take control of the steering wheel, kind of like, bad, like slapping you on the hand. And essentially you have to park and reset full self-driving. Now the question is what happens if you get 5 of those strikes? If you get 5 of those strikes, you pretty much lose full self-driving for a week, I believe. I'm still kind of figuring it out. I haven't gotten there, but I have tested it out enough to get like 2 strikes. And essentially those strikes do fall off. You have to have an entire week of driving, whether you're using full self-driving or not, but you have to go an entire week without getting a strike, and it will fall off. This isn't something, even if you look it up, like Tesla isn't going to be very direct about it, because they don't want people abusing full self-driving, because like it's not safe, and you need to be safe when you're driving. And I will say this, full self-driving has actually taught me how to be a better driver. It literally stays in the middle of the road better than I do, and I have to pay attention more when full self-driving is activated than when it's not, which is crazy. So that being said, full self-driving is actually super safe. If you are watching the screen right now, it is actually making a right turn all by itself, just in a place I've never been to. It's actually waiting for a car to go, and now it's going on its own. Sorry about that. The camera keeps falling. I just do not have it mounted really well. But yeah, apply slight turning force to steering wheel. It's flashing blue. But yeah, with that being said, full self-driving, super safe. I would trust it quite a lot. But even then, I've seen instances where I have took the steering wheel because I didn't like what it was doing particularly. And yeah, with full self-driving, it can also park itself. Wife doesn't love that because it takes longer, and she's like, you're just trying to flex and show off. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I can do that because my car can do that. So why not flex and show it off? You know what I'm saying? Plus, it's also cool. You just pull up, and it shows you all the parking spots. If it's reading the parking lot, you press your parking spot, you go to a complete stop, you say auto park, and it will park itself. Yes, it will do parallel parking. Yes, it will regularly park. The only ones I've seen it have issues with is any of those spots that are like diagonal. It doesn't really like those. It likes to back itself in. Outside of that, there's just so many other features that this car can do, and it's kind of fun just to figure them out as you go. There's features like, even with the AC and just controlling it, you can turn it to auto. Like other cars, it's got that left and right. You can have the back seats heated, the front seats are heated and cooled, the steering wheel is heated. And yes, Tesla could make another car where it doesn't have all these amazing features, but I feel like that would devalue the mystique of the Tesla. If the Tesla didn't come with all of these features, then it just wouldn't be the same. Like I said, everything that you do in the Tesla, it just does a little bit more. So even as the full self-driving, like I was talking about, you could set it to chill, standard, or assertive, basically on how often it switches lanes, how aggressive it is with kind of like changing lanes, and how the driving mode is. Even whenever it's changing lanes, the cameras, which I can press on the steering wheel or press on the screen, I can look at the back while I'm driving, or I can look at the sides whenever it's trying to get over, right? And you have this this blinker on, which I don't want to turn on because I don't want to try to switch the lanes now. On the screen, it has a red on the outside, basically saying that there's somebody in your blind spot. And I get that's normal on cars, but on top of it being there, it also shows it right here in the corner of your car as a little red dot. You have like so much visuals on this car to be able to see everything around you. It is, outside of actually being one of the safest cars, it is one of the safest cars visually, to be able to drive and understand what's going on around you. Like I said, the full self-driving, super safe. The way the car drives is super safe. And on top of like all of these things that I've talked about, the car is fast. Like, I didn't need it to be fast with everything else that it can do, but it is. And it just goes. Like, as soon as you put your foot on the accelerator, that sucker just goes, and it's quiet. So going from this, and as I was referring back to my Telluride before, going from this to the Telluride, even though it's a nice vehicle, right, 2022, it just feels like it's like a put as I put my foot on that gas pedal. I mean, it's like this car, I want to like switch a lane over, you just go exactly where you want to go. It's kind of like riding a motorbike without all the noise and with more safety, in terms of like the speed. Like, it's not a sports car, it's a daily driver, but it's kind of a beautiful blend between both. This car literally is like, why not? Why aren't more cars like this? It makes you really think like, oh, okay, I guess I see what the hype is about the electric vehicles. Now, don't get me wrong, I like my gas-powered car. I'll probably always have a gas-powered car. I think it's a time-tested thing. I think there's a whole lot of value in oil and gas. I don't think we need to be fully EV. If you're fully all into something, well, you're going to be missing something. However, this is a great car. I can't see myself driving another car outside of a Tesla, but again, I do like my gas-powered car. I think it is just great. However, me personally, I'm driving the Tesla. So with that being said, if you guys have any questions, I do not mind answering anything. Nothing's off the table. Ask whatever you want. I already told you about the price I pay a month, the price it costs me for this. I'll tell you whatever it is. Just leave a comment down below. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I know this episode's a little different than what we would normally do for a podcast, but I don't know, maybe a difference better. Anyways, if you like this video, please subscribe. I did not buy this Tesla for this video, but technically now I did. So I'm paying monthly for this video. So, oh boy. Yeah, also use that link in the description because that helps me out too. So, all right, bye.